Hello everybody, today I'm making a tutorial video on how I built my ski jumps for my Goblin Doom Divers. So real quick, I'm going to go over the materials we used. First, I created a base. The base is 60 millimeters by 120 millimeters, which makes it a little bit bigger than a Chariot base, but a little smaller than a monster base. The wood used is base wood, which is actually quite a bit harder and more dense than balsa wood. In sizes 1/16 square, 3/32 square, and 1/16 square. Of course, a hobby knife, some clamps. The ramp itself is actually balsa wood because it is much softer and I needed it to be able to pliable to the shape. The first step is to plan out the sides and draw a rough sketch of how I'm going to build the sides. The base is 110 millimeters long, so it's just a little bit shorter than the base it's going on. And then I just kind of drew a curve, and I decided on the heights in the front and back. 2.5 inches and 1.5 inch, with a 1 inch on the low point, and I just drew a curve and filled in some lines. And it's just rough. It doesn't have to be anything precise. So here, after cutting all the pieces for the side, the base stick is the 1/8 inch square, and then the risers are the 3/32 square. And I want to make sure and cut them at an angle so that they're not flat on the top, but they actually conform to the shape of the curve as drawn. So then I added a couple supports. These are going to be the inside or the outside, so I'm going to put a couple supports. Most of the supports are going on the inside of the structure. So here I went ahead and built the second side. And you'll notice one thing is I actually built two of the same side. After starting to put together, I realized that I had built two identical pieces where I needed to do one, so I actually had to cut off the risers and move them over so that the lip from the extras, because the base rod is bigger than the risers, so there's a little extra lip, and I wanted that on the outside. So here we are. Now that everything has been assembled, fixed, and dried, we're going to now set them next to each other, on top of each other, and we're going to trim them down so that all the risers are the exact same size and shape, and same with the curve. Notice there are a few bits of paper stuck to it. Really, there isn't much paper that sticks to this in this process. I mean, if you're really worried about it, you can go to wax paper or something like that. But there really isn't that much paper that sticks to it, and you can always sand it down if it bothers. But you can just paint over it anyway, so I didn't think it's a big deal. And here we are after trimming down all of the tops of the risers to a nice uniform shape. Then what I did was I cut a bunch of 1 inch pieces, or pieces that were a little more than 1 inch long, to build as supports between the two sides. So I drew a couple parallel lines and then glued down the risers, or glued down the sides, and then put supports between them. I also glued some more supports on the inside of each piece. And it's a pretty good base for the ski jump. So the next step then is to put the ramp itself. The ramp I trimmed down to the correct width and length. And then what I did was I soaked it in water for a while, because even balsa wood isn't quite pliable enough to get to the curve I want. So what I did was I soaked it in water for a while so it's nice and soft. Then I put glue on the top of each riser, stuck it down in place, and clamped it down until everything was dried, both the glue and the water. So here's the ski jump after the glue is dried. Added a little texture. The texture doesn't go all the way to the edges because on the edges is going to be snow, of course, but there's not going to be snow under the jump itself. I also trimmed the front off so it's a little more realistic. It was a little too long before. And the last step is to build a step ladder to get up to the top. So that's really it. Just simple construction, planning ahead, getting some measurements down is really all you need to make a consistent model. The base wood is so much stronger than balsa wood, but it's still just as easy to work with. So if you're going to do any projects, I would definitely recommend the base wood over balsa wood for something like this. And that's it for this tutorial. Any questions, go ahead and leave any comments below. Please comment, rate, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.